We back.
Thick as thieves, baby. Live from the Ritz-Carlton in Tokyo. We got a little coffee. It's what?
This is espresso?
6 a.m.? I think it's just coffee. Colombian coffee.
Yeah, 6:30 in the morning, bro. Because it's what we have to do because we're out here for a job.
Look at us, man.
I'm grateful.
It feels good. Look at God.
Look at us. Who would ever thought? You seen that meme?
Yeah. I know. Bryce.
He always sends that one, bro.
Well, he used to. I haven't heard him say it in a long time. But yeah, man, video's been taking us all over the place. But this is definitely the craziest one so far, I think.
Yeah.
Well, I've never been across the world.
This
is my first real international trip. You've been on more than me, for sure.
This is still the craziest, though. It's cooler to go with friends.
It is. The level of luxury they have provided us with is crazy.
Wild.
Like, here, dude, we should throw up some photos right here of our room. So y'all can check it out.
Bro.
Yeah,
I got
dude.
2 beds in mine, too.
Yeah, I know. Me too. So I can, like, jump from one to the other.
That's all I do the whole time.
I've just been going,
literally.
Just, remind myself I'm a kid again, you know what I'm saying?
I'm dead. No, but it is kind of extra, bro. I have, like, a bath.
A shower.
Separate from the shower.
Toilet room, 2 sinks.
And, I'm going to be honest with you. I've just been sitting down on the toilet and pressing the bidet button.
Just for fun, just recreationally. Like, I'm not even using the bathroom at all.
It kind of feels good.
Dude, you may have found something new, bro.
I'm about to install one in the crib.
You should get that. I like a bidet. I feel like it does a good job, too.
It does. It's way cleaner.
It is it's way cleaner.
Yo, let's talk about, like, how clean it is here, actually.
Tokyo? That was, like, one of the things that was really obvious to me, just walking out on the streets of Tokyo. It's a gigantic city.
Right,
There's 50 million people here. And New York City is really dirty. And I was like, well, this is another big city, but it's kept really clean. And I think a lot of that probably has to do with just culture, Everybody's really buttoned up. There's a lot of people in suits. There are a lot of...
the fashion here goes crazy.
Yeah, and also though, there's like a... you have a responsibility as a citizen. Like, it seems like there's a culture of, like, do a good job, don't go... Like, you know what I'm saying? If you...
Do your part.
Yeah, so I think if it probably reduces the littering and things like that, but...
Yeah, I think it's, like, in the States, littering is frowned upon, but there's still some people who don't care.
Yeah.
Here it's like, no, littering is like, it's just not culture. It's like, why would you even do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not even a thought.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously, it's like where you get different people anywhere you go.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's someone here in Japan who litters at least once in the last...
No, I don't think so. I don't think so, David.
But I think it's pretty obvious it's a very clean city. But I feel like there's a lot of little things, like last night, which may sound kind of gross, because for me, because I haven't... If they had it, I would do it in the States, but like they had I was trying to get in the hot tub and I was like, you need to go take a shower first. And I'm like, dang, bro, you trying to call me nasty? But it's like, I get it, it's a good practice, but that's something that's like frowned upon here is like, you need a shower before you hop from the swimming tub or the swimming pool to the hot tub, you know what I mean?
Listen, I also rock with taking your shoes off. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And
That's true.
I like that practice. I like showering before you get in the pool. They made me wear a hairnet, which I understand that too, but I don't really want to wear one of those because I look like a Dagestani wrestler.
For real. Especially with the beard.
Well, if I shaved my mustache, it would be good.
Oh, it's game over.
If I shave the mustache, I get like 30% better at wrestling.
The mustacheless beards on.
That's right. That's right. I kill everybody.
Dude, I respect that. I like it a lot. I like the people here are very nice. I learned a couple words.
What'd you learn?
You know what I learned? Konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa.
And then...
Konnichiwa.
That's the only one I know.
I've known that one forever, though, David. You had to learn that one?
Exactly. I haven't learned anything since we've been here.
We've been busy, bro. So what we're trying to do is when we're shooting content, because we have the middle of our days all taken up by client work, we're getting up early, shooting our own content like we're doing now, and staying up a little later and shooting some content at night. Yeah. So, but I'm really excited.
It's worth it.
Yeah. I mean,
Completely.
we're only 1 day in, and I'm really excited about the content we've captured
Yes.
already.
Have you had a chance to look at it yet?
I have. Yeah.
Did
it's
you look
good.
at last night's?
Yeah, a little
Tight,
bit.
tight.
I was tired.
Right, me too.
But yeah, no, it's gonna be good, bro. Like, think about. I mean, we're out here for what, 2 weeks?
Yeah.
So we're gonna
Today we're going
compile
to
all
some
this
sort of
together.
tea testing. So like, what are we going to see there?
Yeah,
and
tea
then we'll
tasting.
Go to Kyoto.
Then we're going to Kyoto in what, 6 days?
Yes.
This is fire.
Can't wait, bro. It's gonna be lit.
Yeah. Well, dude, let's do a little recap of our year, because I mean, we've had a lot of crazy things happen. I mean, for me, 2023 has been one of the
You've been bouncing lows and highs.
bouncing lows and highs, bro.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been one of the craziest years for me. But I mean, you got baptized this year, bro.
That was January. Yeah. Wow.
I think it was, right?
I need to re-up on that.
You didn't get baptized again. I'm like, dang, bro. Like, that's supposed to last you. Like,
Nah,
that's supposed to be
people get rebaptized sometimes. But
I was baptized at 13,
Were you?
so I need to get
I said I
rebaptized.
didn't do nothing. Because you're a debaucherous person.
Yeah.
No,
Anybody knows that me, I just indulge in every level of debauchery.
You do. It's crazy. Yeah, I got baptized in January. One of my best friends, and then it's been a wild year. That feels like last year, but that's when I went on that 1 week fast. So I might do another one of those. I need another fast.
Oh yeah, 1 week fast. You did do that.
No food, which
That's-
isn't that bad compared to like some people, but for me it was like I never done that before, so I was starving. Your boy's hungry.
Man, I did a 30-hour fast, and my body was, bro, I felt horrible. My body was buzzing, like.
Yeah, it's not it. They say it's like after the first couple of days is when
I was gonna
you kick
say that.
into-
So did you feel that?
The first day or two, bro,
first day
I
or
was
two,
like miserable. I couldn't
horrible,
sleep.
and then your body kicked in and adjusted for
You
it.
can't sleep, like, because your body has nothing to do when you're asleep, really. It doesn't have much to do like it usually does. It'll break down, and so I couldn't sleep, and I'd wake up like, it felt like I got 3 or 4 hours of sleep.
Dang, dude.
Anyways, and then, yeah, I ended up having to get like a bone broth that had like some sodium in it, like, which feels like I'm eating nothing. It's like I'm drinking salt and stuff, but yeah, it was kind of vibrating. But after day 2, bro, it's like, keep drinking water, you're pretty good. Only thing you start feeling is like, by like it comes back again by day 5. You're like, I'm starving. You're not feeling sick, but you're like, I'm starving. I want food. But then we went to Hattie B's, because you came to the
You
baptism.
broke your fast with Hattie B's,
Bro, slaughtered it. I was supposed to take it easy and do like a vegetable thing.
but then it was like fried chicken.
Fried chicken.
And it was like
collard greens.
We gonna
macaroni.
go stupid
And
on that.
people kept telling me, hey, you're gonna be sick, like if you eat too much off the rip. I couldn't help it. I ate it all, and I didn't feel sick at all. So I guess I'm just built different.
Dude, I still feel bad about missing your baptism, guys.
Oh yeah, I forgot you didn't show up.
No, this story is so crazy because I had it on my calendar for so long, knew what time it was, all that. I get up in the morning, I'm all dressed. Me and Leaky hop in the car and we start driving. And I knew it was in Nashville, so I start driving towards Nashville. And I'm like looking for the address, and so I click the address, and we show up there, and it's a gas station. And I'm like, obviously, it's not here. But we were planning on being there like 10, 15 minutes early, you know what I mean? So we pull up to the gas station.
Right.
I realized that I scrolled up a little bit too far in our messages.
You went to the shoot location.
I went to a location that you had sent me from the shoot that was like a week before for the Nashville Cypher. And yeah, dude, so I'm like, oh man. So I got the right location. We started heading over there. And you were like one of the first people, right? They did it pretty quick, because from what your dad was telling me.
Literal first guy, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was the first one to like sign in, so they just put me in the top of the line.
Bro, I felt so bad, but
That's good, man.
it was an honest mistake.
But
But
you were there, yeah, it was cool.
But yeah, dude, that's amazing. What else happened this year for you, bro?
Lots of, I don't know, man, just random stuff. I got lots of little DP jobs, which I'm cool about. I like those.
The Rocket Mortgage?
Rocket Mortgage, even though the show got canceled, kind of. It was cool. I got to direct that, which was awesome.
No, tell them about that. Don't just gloss over it like that. It's not a huge.
It was huge, but you know, it didn't go into anything, so it could be better. But
Yeah.
you know, I directed a pilot of a TV show for a company called Rocket Mortgage,
Let's go, dude.
and it was like a real estate situation.
Fire.
It'll probably never come out, but we did it. It was a big
Yep.
crew. It was cool. It's fun. I liked it.
How has it been stepping into, like, because a lot of times you're the director and DP, or we're co-directing some stuff, and then I'm doing the editing and you're coloring and whatever. How has it been really dealing with a proper crew? Do you feel like you've acclimated to?
As a DP, 1,000%. Like as a DP, it's like it's easy. Like, yeah, and with the DP, you deal with everybody because everybody's affecting the image in some way, for the most part. And so, as a DP, definitely fully acclimated to that. I mean, there's a lot to learn still. Like, I haven't worked with some departments, like a VFX department or anything, but like, that's kind of right in my wheelhouse. I feel like I learned a lot doing all these shorts this year and DPing this stuff.
Fire.
Working with different people, different skill sets. But directing is a different beast because you have the crew and then you have the above the line type of crew as well, which is you have the client wanting certain things, and then you have people who are the client who are coercing with the client from the company that you're hired with. And there's like literally a live feed being sent over to the client, and they're like sending in notes live while we're shooting saying, we should change this.
Those situations can be so frustrating because it's like everybody has to justify their job and everybody has an opinion about the way that it should be.
Yep.
So like when you're working with a corporate client, so I used to work a corporate job, so I kind of know what the back end of that looks like. And it's like so many people involved. You know, you have these meetings where it's like, we're going to discuss this. Everybody that wants to achieve something in their career is like speaking up in the meetings and trying, you know, but not everybody has good ideas.
Right, exactly.
Especially on the creative side. If you're not a creative person, you work a corporate job and like, but you still want to have input about like how it's, you know, how it's going to affect
earn their wages.
Yeah, so you have that, then you have, I mean, it's just so many different people pushing and pulling. Ideally you get the corporate people, just it gets funneled to one person. You have one representative here and you have the director here, and then they can kind of just hash out all of those conversations. I think that's when it's working as well.
Unfortunately, with Rocket, I was working through Maiden Network, which is they hired me as a director. So there's like all these there's multiple layers, which was the Rocket people were chatting with the Maiden Network people, and then they come to me about something, and it's like when I get it, it's just like, yeah, let's make that correction. Yeah. I'm not communicating with them on that level. Yeah. Which I'm sure there's shoots that happens. I mean, I'm sure Martin Scorsese is chatting with Paramount and he's making decisions based on the budget because it is his film.
Mortgages are also like anytime you're dealing with banking and stuff, that's a highly regulated field.
Exactly. That was big. That was the biggest stuff. Yeah.
I used to work at Checking and Cash Corporate. Same thing. It's like you got to be airtight with how you're putting things forward. There's got to be certain disclosures. You know, like when you another one is like medical. You know, anytime you watch like a commercial for some kind of medicine, it's like you have all this text at the bottom, and it's got to list all these different things. So, yeah, man. But hoops, man. What about your own personal development in 2023? You know, what do you feel like are some lessons that you've taken away from this year?
I think, one thing that really resonated with me this year is, here, let me see if I can pull it up real quick, actually, but it was a Bible verse that I read. Let's see, real fast. I got a little Bible cheat sheet. All my favorite verses on there. I keep adding. It's not even favorite. It's just more so like Bible verses that apply to things in life as I come across them. And it's like it's like very nerdy. I keyworded it. So you type in a keyword, you can type in something like prayer.
We like that.
You know me. Type A. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, I don't have it on here. I need to add it. I don't know why I have it, but it's kind of the Bible verse goes something like, it's like. It pretty much essentially is covering this idea of praying in silence, which the reason you haven't heard about it is because the prayer is, the verse speaks directly on like not making prayer about yourself and making yourself look good. Yeah. Or like trying to take away from God's glory by like, can I pray for you real quick, and like doing it loud and proud, which there's a strength to that for sure. I grew up with that type of energy. There's a strength to that. But it has to come from the right place. And for me, I was like, I don't know if it's from the right place if I pray, and because I'm still such a new Christian. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna stop praying loudly for people in public, or like sometimes I would grab a friend's hand and like, let's pray right now, this and that. But now I was like, you know what, man? I'm just gonna start praying for these people when they're not even aware that I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And like try to harness that idea, because I gained nothing from that except for that one-on-one with the Creator. So it's like, that's, you know what I mean? So that I was trying to harness that energy, and I think it applies in so many different work. I need to get that verse and talk about it, or put it on the.
Let me ask you something on that topic. It makes me think of, like, okay, so I feel like if you're trying to work on yourself and you're trying to, like, seek truth, I feel like it's, especially when it's, dissolving your ego, you know what I'm saying? That's a lot of the process of being a Christian. I mean, you're moving from a place of selfishness, right? Yeah, to selflessness. Like,
right.
that's a big part of the arc.
Oh, for sure.
And it seems like, when you have the added complexities of being around other people, you have these things like, there's a social hierarchy, and there's people that you kind of want to impress, and like, so it becomes really complicated to know your true motives almost. So do you feel like because I don't know, I find I do my own best reflective work being by myself. I mean, also through conversation though. So I will say that like a really tight, meaningful conversation. But do you feel like that's like a correct, I guess, prescription of what that's getting at? It's like, look, if you can isolate yourself for prayer or keep, then it kind of reduces the possibility of you doing it for a different reason.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And to put it in my words, essentially, it's like, I don't want God to think that I'm doing it so I look holy.
Yeah.
And that it's like, oh, I'm praying for I got a group of friends, let's pray right now. And I think there's some people, and obviously there's so many different types of people in the world, and there's obviously Christians who do this, but they're Christian because they want people to think they're great and good. And
yep.
Of course. And that's not Christ-like. It's not. It's never about us. So trying to just hone in that, I like really just like I said, I don't know if that's what I'm doing. I think there's been a couple times where I'm like probably subconsciously like trying to make it about me in a way.
Yeah.
Like, look at me, I'm praying for everybody right now.
Yep.
And it's like, I used to even think, I'm gonna start praying over sets. Like every time I go on a shoot, I'm gonna start praying. And then I realized, I was like, I get this, like, because it's weird, because there's a fine line between being bold.
Because you could do it. Yeah, okay,
There's a fine line between being bold and being like, what's the correct term? I guess being bold and...
Like overbearing?
No, there's a fine line between being bold and, I guess, boastful.
Okay.
In a way. And
so
I think it's a person-to-person self-reflection, and you have to really look, because I think my grandma and people in my family can be very bold.
Yeah.
And it's pretty apparent after you get to know their character that they're doing it for the glory of the Lord.
Yep.
And there's also some people who are bold, and it's like, what are you doing that for? And that's none of my business to figure that out. I think that's for you to figure out.
Yeah.
For me, as a natural, like, introverted person, which I've worked really hard to get past, I think I started to really look at it and go, you know what? Am I doing this because I'm trying to overcome the introvertedness of my internal self, and like show that people that I can, like, Christianity has made me a more bold person, which it has, or am I doing this because I actually care about the well-being and the people that I'm praying for, the things that I'm praying for? So I've been able to like self-internalize everything and go, and not in a bad way though, like self-internalize it and then give it to God in solitude. I
think that's beautiful, bro. I think that a lot of people that have a problem with certain types of Christians, it's because they are made to feel like those type of Christians have granted themselves moral superiority. You know what I'm saying? And then that makes you feel uncomfortable.
That you don't like. You're like, ew, like.
Well, I feel the same way about when people call themselves an empath. Like, dog, it's like
empathetic. Yeah.
No, but the thing is like, wait. So you're like, there's no actual scientific test for that. There's not like a deep literature. You know what I'm saying? So it's like if you call yourself an empath, you have just granted yourself this like totally unearned moral superiority. So it's like very pretentious to say.
I know what you're getting at, yeah. And we talked about this briefly. I forgot that. What's that alpha male guy's name?
Oh gosh, I
don't
know.
care to talk about him because I don't really like him that much.
Yeah, I don't know what his name is.
Morale, I don't agree with it. I think he can be saved by the grace of the Lord, but for now, I don't like him.
Yeah.
And I think he mentioned, he was just talking about he talks a lot, but one of the things he often hammers in is that, he's a male and it's his natural inclination to like want many women, and he decided to fully indulge into that and just be like, hey, like I just can't be with one girl. Like that's not how I'm built. It's not how I'm wired. And he was challenged one time on the cast, his podcast or the podcast he was on, where the girl was like, don't you think it's strong? Because he's always talking about strength and being a man and providing and like, but I'm going to be with multiple women because I'm a high value man. And she was like, well, don't you think it's stronger to hone in your lust, harness all the desire that you have and give it to one woman? And he was like, yeah, he's like, he goes, this is the way it went is it was like a devolve. He goes, no, I don't agree with that. And, I think, and then he just kind of cut it off. He's like, you know what? And also, I just think you're like an arrogant, like you're kind of annoying in like a goody two-shoes type of way. He got really upset. And I was like, that's a little
it's
kink in your armor right there.
Yeah, 100%.
You're insecure that
100%.
like this idea, because I don't think there's much strength and indulgence in any factor of life.
No, it's the opposite, because it's easy to indulge.
Easy.
It's easy to indulge. You want to indulge. That's the point. And it's immediate self-gratification. And of course, you have an inclination to do that, but all the real fruits are by delaying that.
Yes. You can have too much of anything. And I think the Bible and really God just talks about that quite a bit, which is this, we've spoken about it very briefly with this, hedonism conversation that we've had, which is just like thinking about your future self, withdrawing some of those desires, whether it be sugar or it be greasy foods. Some people deal with obesity and overeating, and it's like this question about this idea about like, what's the word, like withstanding or holding out on yourself for the greater good is such a beautiful conversation. It expands beyond. I think it's divine.
I think so. Yeah.
It's divine because I think personally, I think that once you go down that path, it will lead to God.
Yeah.
Because I think if you continue to go, oh, how do I live outside of myself? How do I try to serve the greater humanity? You end up in a Mother Teresa type of situation where it's like, there's something outside of me that transcends this world that I have to make applicable and understand that I'm small in a way. Small in the sense of the grand scheme of things, but great in the eyes of God, And I think about that a lot, and I'm like, man, this conversation's kind of like went in many different ways, but I think about that, and that this year has been kind of that realization of, I think when early Christians, I think they deal with this idea of being, being so drastically different. It's like the before and after pic, Throwback Thursday. I feel like Christians, they do that very early on, and 2 to 3, 4 years, it's Throwback Thursday for them a whole lot. Like, look where I was at before, look where I'm at now.
Yep.
Look where I was, how much, God has helped me financially in this spot, or look, I used to be on drugs, and I get it. The story is amazing, and I'm not mad about that at all. Share your story. It becomes a part, though, when you're no longer, your testimony can transcend and help other people, but the testimony, as long as you don't want the testimony to only serve this idea that you want people to make you, you want it to make you look better. You know what I mean?
So Dennis Prager said essentially that the best way to convert people to Christianity is through being a good Christian, and it's also being a bad Christian is the best way to push people away from Christianity.
Man, I love that.
Yeah, because it's like, it's if you embody the values rather than taking on that moral superiority, because there is no room for moral superiority in the Bible.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Not at all.
And so if you are somebody who's...
God humbles everybody in the Bible who does that every single time.
Yeah.
Humbles them really quick.
Yeah. So I just love that quote, and I think it's true, because I feel like the best Christians that I know, and I feel like you're on the track of doing this as well, because I don't feel like, I mean, you don't directly like preach to people or like do certain things like that. It's like you act in accordance with this. And
sometimes I do.
No, I know you do whenever, especially if somebody asks, or if it's the right moment for you to...
Right, exactly. It's the right moment, yeah.
Right. So it's not, and especially not like a finger wagging way.
You're a sinner.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the most extreme version, but nah.
Yeah. So, no, I think that's true, but yeah, man, that's great to hear. I think that is valuable insight for sure.
Dude, I like it. That quote is amazing, and I'll say it right now, so it's on the record, man. I struggle so hard with being a good Christian, because the fact of the matter is we're debaucherous creatures. We're born with this natural, innate desire to sin, and if sin sends, like so many people, sin puts a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth, especially non-believers or people who haven't fully adopted the Christian faith, because sin just sounds like that wagging the finger thing. You're a sinner, but really it's like, the things that are not good. The lustful desires, the overeating, the jealousy and adultery and lying, stealing, and saying the Lord's name in vain and stuff of that nature.
False idols.
False idols.
Love of money.
1,000%. And dude, that's such a good one. That might be one of the biggest.
That's so pervasive in our culture.
So pervasive.
Sure. And it's enticing though. It's enticing.
I mean,
you know what I mean?
Yes, dude. The love of money. I mean, it's scary, dude. And all this to say, like, on the record, it's like, it's not going to change overnight. Like, I think the Lord can change your heart in that way. Some people are more inclined to the Lord changed my heart, and I think it's more of a, you see that in the book of, all the way through, Genesis to Deuteronomy. You see this idea that I think people forget about this, is that there's an overarching theme of the Bible, which is God, God promised in the Old Testament that he would destroy death, and in the New Testament he shows how he did it. And there's this, like, you have this Genesis, right? You start in Genesis and you have these people who are, you have the creation story, then you have these people who are they're the chosen people of the Lord. They represent humanity, and they're like going through this journey the entire time, but the entire time they're like so hard-headed. They deny God. They have false idols. They do the most. You know about it. They end up 40 nights. Before they enter the promised land, they do a whole bunch of debaucherous stuff, and God just has to hammer them in over and over again. It's like sharpening the iron. Iron sharpens iron. He has to continue to sharpen the blade over and over again. They annoy him so much. He wipes the earth with a flood. He rebuilds it. It's like, then he brings them out of Egypt, and then they do this and that, and then Moses has a point of anger, and it's like he's always working and hammering into this idea before you enter the promised land. It's this overarching theme. It's like, this is the everyday man. That's what it is. That's what the theme of that is that I believe the Lord can do anything, but for me, it's like the Lord is always hammering. It's like, I want to stop cussing, and I'll be cussing on this podcast. I want to, quit pornography and continue to work on just, a girl walking down the street. It's like, I see she has a big butt or something, like, refusing to look, so I don't have these thoughts, or I want to stop feeling jealous. Yeah. Sometimes I feel jealous, like, and it's always a continuous hammer, always, and the Lord does that. It's like, the conviction is whenever I do these things, the way the Lord changed my heart is that I feel much worse than I did before I was saved. It's like the shame is there, and the shame can be used. I think the shame can be used in so many different ways. Like, you can take the shame and like let it ruin you, or you can take the shame and go like, hey, God, please continue to convict me. A prayer that I say a lot is, Lord, give me all the failures that I need to do to be closer to you. At the end of this life, man, I don't want to get to the Lord and he goes, I never knew you, depart from me. You know what I mean? And it's like, so like continuously humbling yourself before omniscient creator and going, dude, like, I cannot stop this. Like, hammer into me more, convict me more.
Yeah.
Convict me more. There's nothing wrong with that. I hear this idea. It's like, you shouldn't feel much shame. And I get that to a certain extent. But the shame it's about how you harness it, and that's how you look at it and you go, Lord, like, are you making me feel this way? Like, I don't want to feel this anymore, Well,
I
can talk about this all day, but.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think, to your earlier point, I think that gratitude is a practice. You know what I mean? I think that you don't ever perfect it. It's the process of, perfecting it would be to become Jesus. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's the process of recognizing those things. But what that is outside of a spiritual context is just introspection and correcting. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Identifying problem areas in your heart. You know what I'm saying? Moving from a space of selfishness to selflessness. You know what I'm saying? Moving towards altruism. All of that stuff. Yeah,
100%.
I think the thing I wish more people can understand, and I've talked about this at great length before, but when you add those restraints and structure, and you start looking at aiming up, and you start windowing off some of those immediate desires, I feel like to a person who has been indulging them, that feels like a sacrifice. In a way, right?
Right.
But I think the big thing is getting people to realize that what's over here is actually so much better. And I think that is a hard selling point if you've never touched it. Like, if you've never felt love, you know what I'm saying? Real, true love with another person. Like, to me, that's a sliver of divinity. Like, that's a microcosm of, like.
God is love. So yes,
right.
You're getting a piece of that.
And it's like that can pervade into the essence of whatever love is can pervade into every area of life.
Yes, that's good.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like,
you can preach that.
Yeah, but that's dude, that's way more enticing than a situation where it's like, you shouldn't do these things because it's bad. This is bad for you. Like, don't do these things.
Which is the narrative a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think maybe the messaging just needs to be turned around, because like, I feel inspired when I start to, to think about these things in terms of the extended version of myself, and I'm like, yeah, dude. I mean, if I'm living like this, the more I move away from being selfish or being egotistical, the better my life gets. So even for a selfish reason, you can come to those conclusions. You have better friendships, better relationships, but there's this process of sacrifice. In the context of a relationship, you're sacrificing for your wife, and but it's something that you are willing to do. And if both people are doing that, then you guys you become better versions of yourself. You create this, as a pairing, you create, if you're honing each other in and calling each other on your bullshit and stuff, you're honing in and creating basically a super entity.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? You have this union that's, and it's like, I don't know, I've started to just really see the value of that entire, because then it expands out to your kids, you know what I'm saying? Then your kids have a loving umbrella and a guide and how to act in accordance with those things. And it's not like, don't do this, you're bad. It's like, no, we know we're all bad. We all have these things, but if you choose to focus on, aiming yourself towards the good, then it's like you fall in love with this process of yeah,
that's very good.
Finding things out, solving it, but
I think that's so good, dude. It's like, you've spoken a lot there, which is really cool. And I think if you, one of the things you said, which is like, it trickles down into, if you have, you and your wife, for instance, if you guys are always working on hammering that relationship with the Lord and looking at those values and applying them to yourself and applying them as a couple, it's going to trickle down into the family and generations to come, Lord willing. And it's like, that's a powerful message. That's a powerful message, though, because, if you admit that, I think accepting those values, it's weird. This is a crazy kind of, a difficult way to kind of word this, but if you admit that these values they outweigh you in terms of, like you admit that these values are greater than what you can fully comprehend, and there's a moral, objective law above your own, then you avoid self-righteousness. And I think that's what people fall into, is they fall into this idea that like, well, because there has been people who have good lives without indulging into religion and stuff, but then there's this question, which is like, what happens when you fail? What happens to the kids? And we see that story a lot, which is you have a mother and a father who have this great life, and they leave that to their kids, and then people were imperfect, so someone fails, and it's like, what's their answers to divorce? I have so many friends in high school who are like, yeah, my parents just got divorced, and like it affects them because they don't understand. There's no biblical application that they can apply, no God that they can talk to, well, in their world, that allows them to answer those questions. And it's just like, what happens when the parents fail? What happens when your friends fail? And you don't have, and this person who hasn't chose which side they're like, okay, so I can't reconcile these ideas. But God never fails. And that's the idea, is that if my parents are religious Christian people and they put this, for me, my story is just that. My dad is a Christian man, and he went through a divorce, and he's always been a Christian guy, and my grandparents are, and I have all these strong Christian personalities in my family, and then I go and I live a life that's not Christian for like 7 years, and then guess what? Here I am. Yeah. I came back around. Yeah. What was the answer? Whenever my life was falling apart, I was like, oh man, like whenever I felt sad and depressed, and whenever me and my mom's relationship was falling apart, and me and my friendships and my actual relationship at the time was falling apart, I had to look at something. Mm-hmm. And I didn't look at the divorce that my dad went through. Yeah. I didn't look at the relationships that my friends went through and failed, and like look for that as the key factor in how I was going to change my life. I looked at God, and then it transcended all those other things. But that's only because God had entered those lives at some point, and then it trickled down into this generation. And I can only pray and hope that continues to follow through, my kids' lives and my friendships and my grandkids. It's just like, I can't imagine. One thing my dad was talking about is like, if the Lord was to put everything in the Bible, we wouldn't be able to understand it all. And I think some people get caught up in this idea that like, it doesn't have specific, this is what you should do if you do this and that. It's like, no, but it's about adopting the values, and then everything comes, that becomes very complex, I think. Yeah. Very hard, very scientific, I think, psychological, which is wild. It's like, what is, they say incredible science is indistinguishable from magic. Before we discovered, I think we talked about this before, but before we discovered what fire was, it was just magic. Mm-hmm. Who's to say this spiritual revelation that millions, billions of people are experiencing, just because it seems spiritual miracle, it's indistinguishable from magic. Bro, this is something that's real, man. Yeah. It's scientific, and the God who created science and arts and everything, of course, could deliver it in the most subtle way. Yeah. Without having to give you the details of all the way to the atomic level of why this thing is happening. Yeah. And matter of fact, he's like, the best way to do this is to send, like, even this is hard to understand. He's like, the best way to do it is just send a child to a virgin, and then deliver this message to the world, and deliver it in a book and metaphors and poetry. It's the greatest piece of literature that ever exists. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's kind of crazy to think about. But facts, I think it's we could talk about this all day. I mean, welcome back to the Thick as Thieves podcast, where we talk about biblical analysis. And no,
100%, man.
Did you know that the Ark of the Covenant was a weapon?
Dude, real quick, and then we can pivot off of the religious stuff. I read this book by Donald Hoffman called The Case Against Reality.
You said who?
Donald Hoffman.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And, I recently watched him. He's doing a podcast run. Lex Friedman, Jordan Peterson, all these different people. So I was watching his pod, and he's approaching. He's not even as far as I know, he's not an outspoken theist. Like he's a cognitive scientist.
Right.
But what he said is through their research, and it gets very out of my depth.
Right.
It's at some point when you get deep into the.
Sorry.
If you ever sneeze on my set again.
Greg has PTSD.
Nah, but he basically said that space-time is doomed as being a fundamental makeup of reality, and essentially his arguments, they're mathematical arguments, so I can't speak to the specifics of that, but he essentially says that Einstein's theory of gravity, like their strongest physics theories, aren't applicable below the level of 10 to the minus 33 exponent. So below that level, it doesn't make sense. The entire equation falls apart, and there's something more fundamental than even space and matter. And for me, when he was talking about this, I'm like, well, that's crazy, because that seems like
something that exists out of space, time.
Yeah, space and time. Like,
right.
Well, we have been talking about something like that for thousands of years. But it's really interesting. Back in the 50s, when the Big Bang became the prevailing theory, a lot of scientists were and philosophers were very hesitant to embrace it. Initially, they were very, very skeptical of it, because they felt like they used to believe that the universe had no beginning, and to concede that the universe had a beginning is consistent with a theistic perspective.
It is.
So now you have that breakthrough. Everybody's caught up to that. Okay, there's this Big Bang. You know what I'm saying? When you draw back the trajectory of all these different galaxies, it comes back to a point in God's favor, as far as I'm concerned. That's Stephen Meyer's argument. And now you have Donald Hoffman saying, look, dude, space... he says, by the way, all the top physicists that realize that they're going to have to find something different to look at the most fundamental level, which I just think is really interesting stuff.
I'd be scared if I was them, man. I feel like it's cool and it's fun to do all this, and I think we need people like that, but at what point, I mean, hopefully you just don't die and with doing all this science and not actually accepting this idea that there's something outside of this world.
Yeah. I mean, I feel science is still very important. I just don't think it runs.
Don't do your whole life. Don't die at 80 and you. All these things lead to a theistic point of view. But you've been fighting this whole time for this idea, or these questions, these answers that you're trying to get without fully.
Yeah.
I just pray that.
Well, get rid of the scientific dogmatism.
Right.
And
it's a religion.
It is. It is. Some people are definitely, a lot of scientists are committed to the reductionist viewpoint. And the thing is, I'm just consuming all of this stuff and trying to make sense of the world as I see it. I'm not, there are much smarter people who have debated these things for many years. But what I think is the big turning point for me is just seeing how, as I become a wiser person through lessons that I'm learning and through the introspective work that I'm doing, truths that I believe to be true, I'm like, I see it reflected in the Bible. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then another thing happens, I'm like, oh, well, that seems to be what that means. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it's like, it's almost like, I'm like, oh, I don't know, there seems to be some truth here.
Yeah, baby, need top 5 when I'm done going mental. Yeah, I'm locked in, you can peep my condition, man, the lab all winter, all summer. Yeah, I went dumb, now I'm about to go